Beautycounter is coming back and we're going to talk about it. Welcome back to the Whole Home. We're going to dive into this today. This B Corp beauty brand that we've been kind of following the story of for the last year. It's had a tumultuous year and they're back. So we're going to talk about where they came from, what the brand is, what has happened over the last year, some people's opinions and hot takes, and then look at what we know as it comes back, what we don't know, what I think we will see, so that you're all caught up on this story. If you're new here, hi, welcome. I'm Kezia. This is my little home in the south of England, and my goal on the internet is to make lower footprint, sustainable living feel a little less complicated and a bit more budget friendly. And this is not a brand that is in the UK, so why are we doing a deep dive into the story? I used to live in California, and that is where this brand originated, and it is a brand that I used. They've been a really key brand in this journey of sustainable, ethical consumer choices, and a brand that has changed the game cosmetics-wise in the States and the standards of what's normal. So they're a key brand, but then they've kind of gone on a journey. So we're catching up with it, but if you normally watch my videos and you're here for this one and this is not your world, you're not in America, you don't want to deep dive into a B Corp brand and the drama of the last year, move to a different video. But if you want to catch up on the brand, I've got my coffee, the California coffee mug, appropriately, we're going to dive in. To rewind back to the very beginning of the brand, it started in 2013. A woman named Greg Renfrew watched Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth, and out of that was born this beauty brand with a mission not just to create great products, but to change the landscape of clean beauty. Their main platform was an online, like you would shop anything online. They also had some retail stores in Manhattan, LA, Denver, Nantucket. And then they also had this always a little bit controversial direct sales arm. This was the brand. For 10 years, it kind of sailed along. They grew, they won awards, kind of your Allure, Best of Beauty, Cosmopolitan, different things like that. They were used on the red carpet, celebrities loved them, they had great press, and their mission and their story and their sourcing also had great press. Their advocacy efforts did a lot, and they were part of changing about 10 laws in the US and Canada that made the standard for cosmetics safer for people and for the environment. So they did what they set out to do. The story kind of gets interesting when we hit about 2021. Like so many brands, it had grown for a decade-ish, and they wanted to grow more. To do that, they needed funding, and they entered into a partnership with Carlyle. Carlyle is a private equity firm. They hold brands like that for about 3 to 5 years. They grow them, they invest in them, and then they sell them. When Beautycounter was sold to Carlyle, there was a $1 billion valuation, which felt like really successful company, doing really well. It's sold, it's gonna get bigger. And the promise made about the brand was that nothing would change. This was just about bigger and better and investment. Well, that's not exactly what happened. Now, the products really did stay the same, the values stayed the same, the ethics, the sourcing, the transparency, those were all there, but Greg Renfrew, that founder, CEO, thus far, was fired. No one knew she had been fired. She had to sign an NDA, and then everyone saw her on Instagram on vacation, and a lot of people were kind of like, hey, you abandoned this company, you told us nothing would change, and you've pieced out. That was the story a lot of people felt they were seeing. Didn't go down too well. In came Mark Ray, CEO number 2. Led the company, very different feel to Greg. That didn't work out. In came interim CEO number 3 from the Carlyle Group, Mindy. And then 2023, 2024, Greg was brought back in, which felt kind of like this admission by the Carlyle Group that maybe they hadn't made some of the best choices. Shortly after Greg came back in as CEO, Carlyle wrote off the investment in Beautycounter and the company was sold off in a foreclosure style sale. At the same time as this, Greg had raised her own capital to buy back the company kind of in parts. The company that she founded was now back as CEO as Carlyle had decided to offload the company. Greg bought it back in parts. And at this point, everyone was let know, hey, Beautycounter is shut down. It's temporary. We're going to regroup, figure things out, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. That was going to be May 2024. The company will be back under Greg's ownership. And this victorious kind of take back story was the main story at that point. Female founder, stripped of her company. She bought it back on her own with friends in a kind of Taylor Swift style take back of ownership. Except that what they've said is they got in, realized the company was in a way worse place than they thought. It was never going to come back in May, and they said end of the year. A whole swathe of consultants, about 50,000 at the time, who had been eagerly awaiting a big comeback and paychecks and income, now had no date that this company was coming back. Now, I will say at this point, I became involved with this company in 2018. As a blogger and someone who shares online, I am an affiliate with many different companies and have been with many different companies over the years. When I found Beautycounter in this kind of overwhelmed help, I need makeup that checks all my boxes, they didn't have an affiliate program. They only had a direct sales way of doing things. And so I decided to do that, to use it just like affiliate income, which worked. That way you still get a commission, you share links, there's nothing else that you have to do. And I did work with the company in that capacity from 2018 until they closed, when I actually was planning to leave anyway, because we were in the UK. When the company went down and it suddenly wasn't coming back a couple of weeks later, people were very disgruntled. They felt like they'd been abandoned by a company that owed them a paycheck. It can happen to any company wherever you work, but communication also wasn't done brilliantly well. Across the whole thing, more communication could have solved a lot of problems, a lot of disgruntled, sad, abandoned feeling people. So, who's actually to blame and what actually is the story? And in a way, we don't know, because you have this company that went bust and therefore wasn't financially responsible or responsible in any way anymore for what happened. There was no scapegoat because that company didn't exist. The Carlyle owned Beautycounter. But then Beautycounter was back with the same CEO, Greg. Ultimately, she sold to Carlyle. Some of the responsibility is there, even if that was done with the best intentions. Some would say she was brought back in as CEO to be a scapegoat, wrongly, unfairly, for what was about to happen with the Carlyle-owned Beautycounter. I think we have to form our own opinions there and decide what matters in terms of our now opinion of the company. Whatever happened in the past, it is back. Beautycounter is back with Greg at the helm, the CEO, owner of the company, and is building it from a small business back up again. They have reevaluated everything and it is back. So, what do we know about this new Greg-owned, Greg-run counter? Well, we know that it is called Counter, it is run by Greg, and they are opening their doors to the public on the 25th of June, 2025. We know that. The one thing I think is interesting about the new Counter is that there is no direct sales arm. There is the online website to buy from. There will be one flagship store in Nantucket. They've always had this pop-up. That will be there opening June 25th. There is an affiliate model, so like basically every brand under the sun, you can earn commission, but there are no teams. And honestly, I love this. I think it's interesting because the prior Beautycounter was kind of built on that consultant body. They were a lot of the advertising, they were a lot of the hype. Beautycounter did very little marketing because they did it for Beautycounter. So I think it will be interesting to see how Beautycounter exists without that, because that's all that it's ever been. But I love that that is not there. That is my opinion. I think while it can create great job opportunities for some people, while it's a great mode of marketing, I just think it can muddy the waters and be too murky and too gray and cause too much potential damage to be a great sales route. Can it be done well? Yes. Is there enough good to outweigh the bad? I don't know. And so I kind of just love that Beautycounter Counter has come back simpler with just affiliate marketing and then the online shop and their one pop-up store. Some people, though, are not going to like this because the earning potential is a lot lower as an affiliate than it is if you can build a team and earn money for growing, building, investing in your team. I still like it. But products, this is probably the biggest question. What are they going to sell? And they have rumored this through the year that it would be a reduced set of products. There was a rumor of 50 items, which I think I'm hearing is what they're going to work up to. I'm guessing we're going to see a few launches to create hype over the coming months. But their initial selection is, I believe, 19 products. Most of their traffic and sales came from a small number of products. So they've used that to build a sustainable business, which ultimately it wasn't financially sustainable before. So this is the reworking of that. We have a very reduced product set. All the branding is different. It is now all counter. And we don't yet know exactly what that means in terms of values. There's kind of a lot of talk about it's the same. They're saying, the mission and the sourcing are all of paramount importance. They are core. We don't know about B Corp, so B Corp certification at the time of filming. We don't know if that is there. We don't know exactly what defines the product the way we knew very clearly before. I'm guessing it's somewhat the same. They have Lindsay Dahl, who has previously worked as the head of social impact at Beautycounter. She worked for Ritual. So we know that that environmental health piece, the scientific-based formulation of products and making sure they are safe, that is going to be there because that is why she is there. But we will see exactly what that means. Product selection-wise, we see a souped-up counter match with this new counter branding. It is, they have said, elevated. They're all improved slightly. The most similar product in the lineup is what used to be Countermatch, still Countermatch, very similar formula. Everything else, they said they've elevated the ingredients. We also see Counter Time. Counter Time is in there. Again, fairly similar, but elevated. If you saw that new Super Serum, that is back in the Counter Time lineup. Then we see way more basic makeup than I thought. So when I went through and added up, how do we get to 50? I thought we would see more makeup, but really we are just gonna see a foundation, an SPF like Dew Skin, and a single lip product. And then just a few other hero items. Skincare wise, we've got a brightening facial oil, that vitamin C facial oil with the dropper. A lot of people love that. There is the overnight resurfacing peel and the vitamin C serum. So it really is a really reduced lineup of items. I think what we're going to see is some big splashy launches. This would be my guess. They don't launch everything at the beginning. They're testing the platform, they're testing it all out, and then this gives them the ability to go from 19 to 50 products with more big splashy launches, with promos, with things like that to gain a lot of interest, a bit more press. That would be my guess. It's not what we know, but we do know that 50 was rumored and we're only seeing 19. I listened in on a recording of a call. They did kind of allude to, we will see more things soon. So I think there's more in the pipeline. This is an initial launch. If you go to the site before June 25th, there is this paragraph, which I think is an interesting paragraph, and I've seen people pick it apart and say how it is not trustworthy. I've also seen people say, wow, this is the ethics of the company and the ethos of the company. But the paragraph says this: never say never, because you just don't know. Trust what people do, not what they say. Believe everyone is capable of doing something great because they are. That's our story together. Work over talk, proof over promises will show you what we're truly capable of doing beauty better again. They have a commitment to always push forward through the complexity of creating products that are actually clean. Getting this right isn't easy. It demands embracing the constant challenge of what we do. One step at a time, no matter how small, defines progress. Mission matters most, period. And I think that is definitely reflected in this. There have been balls dropped, there has been responsibility not taken, there has been communication not done well. Where this business excels is the vision and the mission to change the game, to change laws, to create great products that value people and planet. Ours, Our mission is about health, safety, people, and the planet. So that's still there. I'm glad that's still there. They are saying this is what is essential to us, confidently questioning what we're told we can't do and generously sharing what we can, which is the ethos of the B Corp movement, which I'm hoping we see again. It's knowing that we can be greater than we are right now. As we take steps to establish the definitive standard for clean beauty, because clean is not a regulated word. Regulation has been something Beautycounter is big on. Clean is not regulated. That word doesn't actually mean anything. We firmly believe that facts drive the future. So I'm hoping this is meaning testing, third-party verification. Science is big for Beautycounter. You deserve straightforward information about ingredients, processes, and the work required to make products that treat your body and the planet with genuine care. There can be no shortcuts. Real clean takes real work. It's not a label we simply put on our packaging. It's a deep commitment to a higher standard, one that cannot be assumed, skipped, or rushed as we work to contribute to a better world. So that is the interim statement, and that is what we know so far. We have a small amount of product. We have Greg, we have vision, and we hopefully are going to see the same company, but done right, done better, a second time over. If you have any questions, please leave them below. But hopefully this is just the beginning of another great journey for the brand. And really the goal is better for everybody, more options, better products for everybody, more commitment to sourcing across the board. And so regardless of what's happened in the past, really my hope is that we see this company succeed in that mission, because that is what we need. We need more companies doing that. So here's to that. That is what we're hoping for. And I will see you in another video sometime soon.